You're tuned in to a one-take
podcast production.
This is the time of year we wait for all the time, all year long. This is what we wait for.
Are you ready?
Yo, Jacksonville Jaguars has to be a team full of sleepers. You talking fantasy football and you're not looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars for deep sleepers. I don't know what to tell you. It is reality football. It's Andrew Luck all day. It's no better quarterback in fantasy football than Andrew Luck. You can keep your A-Rod, you can keep your Paytons. Give me Luck. I want the touchdowns, the rushing touchdowns. Give me Luck. If you're watching football and not playing fantasy football, then you're not watching football because it's no longer fantasy. It's a reality. Welcome. It is reality football time. Because it's not fantasy, it's reality. I don't get that hyped to do too many shows, but this show right here, I am so hyped to do. I've been tuning my whole podcast career up to do this here segment. You guys are tuned in to a one-take exclusive How to Build a Championship Season 7-part series. In this series, we will cover everything from team names, roster breakdowns, all the way up into free agent signings, sleepers. But today we are on the first part, the welcoming package to the kit. This is knowing your league. Yes, you need to know your league. It is a small step most people miss. When I say knowing your league, you need to know a few things in knowing your league. First thing first, you need to know the scoring breakdown. You say, why? What does that matter? You need to know the scoring breakdown because the simple fact, the scoring breakdown helps you with the second part of the series, drafting. If you know that you're in a league that's 6 points for touchdowns for everyone, your draft landscape changes. Quarterbacks may go higher for you. But if you're in a league that's only 4 points per passing touchdowns, the quarterback may come down on your list. Or maybe you're in a league that is touchdowns only. Yards and everything else don't count. Or you're in one of those leagues where it's yards. Touchdowns don't count. Feel sorry for you if you're in either one of those leagues. But you need to know your scoring breakdown. Pay close attention to what the scoring breakdown is for the league that you're entering. Second of all, you need to know draft type. My personal favorite is snake, and my preference is live draft. For those of you who have never done a live draft, you need to get with a group of people in your area and do a live draft. Meet up at Buffalo's, hell, meet up at McDonald's. Do a live draft. It will change your fantasy life. But for those of you who are online, no problem. Know your draft type. Know that if you're on an online draft, know the league that you're getting in. Know if it's an auction or if it's head-to-head. Or if it's rotisserie. Those are the scoring system, but those goes back with the drafting type. Because if it's a live draft online, you want to know if it's snake or if it's straight back. Snake is when the first person picks first in the first round, they pick last in the second round. So, I personally think I prefer snake, but I personally think snake kills the first pick. Like, you have the first pick, you don't pick again till 19. Which a friend of mine pointed out, and I never paid it attention, but it does kill you, but I still prefer that way. I guess it's one of those traditional things. Also, auction. Like, if you like me, we'll get into this in the draft and in the preparation. You buy those magazines or look, and you see this price tag for everybody. Those are for auction drafts. When you're doing an auction draft, you need a whole nother strategy in itself to prepare for when to nominate players, when to buy players. Do you want to go heavy and get you like 3-4 players at a high price right away and get you a bunch of hopefuls down the line? Those are things you need to know going into your league and going into your draft. So that's why in this knowing your league, you need to know the draft type and the league type. When the league types could be head-to-head or the leagues could be rotisserie. Now, rotisserie, oh man, that to me, that's ancient. I don't understand why anyone is still playing rotisserie style fantasy football, but that's some people's thing. It's not mine. I prefer to go head to head, mano a mano, so I can talk trash and you can talk trash back, versus having a system where rotisserie is just like them chickens you see rotating in the oven, where you could be leading in passing touchdowns, passing yards, but losing in the rushing area heavy. And one thing about rotisserie, you do see a lot of blockbuster trades, because you might have someone who had 2 quarterbacks where they can afford to trade off Peyton Manning and get a running back and a wide receiver, because that person that's trading them needs help in that department. It's weird. Rotisserie style is extremely weird. So that part of knowing your league is knowing your draft type and knowing your league type, knowing if it's head to head or not. Big part, big part is the scoring system. I hit on it earlier, but with the scoring, you need to know exactly how they're scoring things. Are you in a PPR? Are you in a touchdown only? Are you in a yardage only? You need to understand that scoring system. I hit on it earlier. I go back to that because a lot of people make that mistake and do not pay attention to the scoring breakdown. The scoring breakdown changes everything about your drafting, because you need to draft according to the points you can accumulate from your players. Another thing that a lot of people need to learn when I say know your league is know your opponents. Now, if you unfortunately, once again, are just stuck to playing online and don't play a live draft, everybody online shows up usually to the draft lobby 5-10 minutes before, because you want to see where you're picking at. If you're one of those, while you're in there waiting, hit that message board. Just type, where's everybody from? Look and see where everybody's from, because a lot of times when it comes to drafting, people go high on hometown players, and you can draft around that. For instance, I have a guy that's in one of my live leagues. He leaves great people on the board all the time because he takes Lions higher. He may take a Matthew Stafford over Andrew Luck, which leaves me Luck, Jamal Charles. It leaves me other players, and sometimes people that are one team heavy, they also are one division, one conference. Like, a lot of times you can tell which their favorite team because all their players are from the NFC. You run into that all the time. You also run into those who take defenses early, but that'll be all in draft, and we're going to stick to knowing your league. You have to pay attention to those players inside of your league, because they will take some of their defenses, some of their hometown teams a lot earlier than they should, and that allows you to draft a whole different way. That gives you the advantage to take control of that draft. So one key thing is paying attention and knowing what these guys like, what these guys are after. Another thing to know is knowing a positional breakdown to make sure you know what type of league you're in. If you check your positional breakdown and you somehow see defensive players, you are in what we call a dynasty league, and that's a whole nother draft aspect in itself. You will need to pay attention to sacks, tackles for loss. You will need to pay attention to all type of things. Most leagues do not carry that. Most leagues have the positional breakdown of one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, defense, and a kicker. Or, like my league preferably, we do exactly that with a flex, which the flex is the best thing ever. Some leagues, beware, have 2 starting quarterbacks. Man, I'm looking for an invite to a 2 starting quarterback league, just to let everyone know. You have some leagues that do have the 2 starting quarterbacks, and if you're in one of those leagues, it changes everything for you as well. You have to know your positional breakdown, because your positional breakdown plays a key factor in you setting up your team for that season. Also, please check the rules to know when the trade deadline is. Are you in a league where you can't cut players? Are you in a keeper league? If you're in a keeper league, that's even better. You can keep, in most keeper leagues, 2 players third round or lower. That changes a lot for you too. If you're in a keeper league, it changes your draft strategy. And it also lets you know if you're already currently in a keeper league. I will get into next episode on how to go upon drafting with that, who's some good keepers to keep for you. But those are some key pointers that you need to know when going into the season. Knowing your league is a key factor in becoming a champion. Knowing the scoring system, the draft format, the rules, the opponents, things of that nature. We will be bringing you a 7-part series. Part 2 will be drafting and name. Because everybody put a lot of emphasis in their names. That will be small. But we will go from drafting to even breaking down the names over here at One Take Podcast. I will have writers from FantasyGeek.com, FantasyGurus.com, personal friends of mine that are just fantasy geeks like myself. We will be bringing you those guys to the show, talking about sleepers, stayaways, do not touch, do not buy, must have, deep sleepers, not sleepers, deep sleepers. We also be coming to you twice a week during the season, what we be calling our stock watch. We will be helping all daily fantasy players, that's FanDuel, DraftKings players, on building a team to win some of this money. We will be giving you highs and lows, buy now, sell nows, breaking down all stats, everything reality football, because y'all know it's not fantasy. It's reality. So tune in to the next part of this podcast, which will be drafting. As always, I am your host with the most. I am none other than B-Dav, Mr. Dav 1024 on the Twitter. If you got any comments about this show, please mention to me on Twitter and I will get back to you. And we out of here.
You're tuned in to a One Take
Podcast production.
This is the time of year we wait for all the time, all year long. This is what we wait for.
We ready?
Yo, Jacksonville Jaguars has to be a team full of sleepers. You talking fantasy football and you're not looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars for deep sleepers. I don't know what to tell you. It is reality football. It's Andrew Luck all day. It's no better quarterback in fantasy football than Andrew Luck. You can keep your A-Rod, you can keep your Paytons. Give me Luck. I want the touchdowns, the rushing touchdowns. Give me Luck. If you're watching football and not playing fantasy football, then you're not watching football because it's no longer fantasy. It's a reality.